Let us welcome Bob Mann.
Good morning. I want to take a picture of all of you because I'm in Baton Rouge, and people in Baton Rouge are not going to believe that there was a turnout like this in Ruston. If Lincoln Parish is buzzing with energy, this kind of energy today, you can only imagine the incredible power across the country in hundreds of rallies in all 50 states today. Our message is clear. No kings. No president above the law, and no government that caters to the powerful and neglects the people. Mike Johnson, Julia Letlow, Bill Cassidy, John Kennedy, you know them. They act like they don't need to listen to us, the Louisianians who pay their salary. They act like they don't need to listen to people who refuse to be ruled by a king. They dodge your calls, they ignore your letters, and they hope that you will give up. Well, we won't give up. We won't stop calling, and they will hear us. They will hear us when we write, they'll hear us when we call, and they'll hear us when we show up at their offices. They'll hear us when we demand answers for their cowardice. They will hear us when we organize our neighbors and fill spaces like this one. And they will hear us most when we refuse to remain silent, because silence is the authoritarian's best friend. Donald Trump and Mike Johnson want Americans to believe that gatherings like this are meetings of terrorists. Senator Jones talked about that just a minute ago. They spent most of this week on TV criticizing plans for these peaceful rallies, these rallies to show our outrage at Donald Trump's dictatorial authoritarian rule. On Tuesday, Steve Scalise, the majority leader in the House from New Orleans, called this a hate America rally. If we didn't love America, we wouldn't be here today. If we didn't care about America, we wouldn't do what we could to make it a better country, and that's what these rallies are about. We love America. We know it can do better, and we're here today to demand that our leaders do better. No, we don't hate America. We're patriots who love this country, and we're certainly not terrorists. But Trump, Stephen Miller, Mike Johnson, Steve Scalise, they ought to be terrified of us. Yes. They should be terrified because we're not going to let them take this country down the dark road toward dictatorship. They should be terrorized. They should be terrified to see enormous crowds like this across the country today, showing that we are the majority. Now, let's talk for a few minutes about the damage that they're doing to this country. Senator Jones, Bill Jones, talked about what democracy built. Let's talk about what they're trying to tear down. Trump has sent masked ICE agents into our cities and towns to wage war against law-abiding people. The military is policing our streets in an unconstitutional show of force, not to restore order, but to impose Trump's will and to intimidate you and me from speaking out. They've weaponized the Department of Justice and distorted our court system. You may have seen that just yesterday Trump pardoned George Santos after serving only 3 months in prison for fraud. With Bill Cassidy's help, Trump and Robert Kennedy Jr. have destroyed the public health system of this country. And with his unconstitutional, illegal tariffs, Trump has imposed billions of new taxes on Americans by fiat, by executive order, something that violates the Constitution and that only Congress can do. But he's ruling as a dictator, and we're paying the taxes that he's imposed on all of us, every one of us. Earlier this year, Trump handed much of the government over to Elon Musk and a bunch of amateurs who were professional enough to figure out how to dismantle the foreign aid programs of our country and crippled many important agencies like the Federal Aviation Administration and the CDC. Now, those are just a few of the ways that Trump has undermined our democracy in the past few months. But let's talk about specifically what he's doing on health care. Trump and his allies rammed through a budget law, what they call the One Big Beautiful Bill, that slashes Medicaid by $1 trillion over 10 years. And those cuts are going to land hardest on states like ours. They're going to threaten rural hospitals in places like Lincoln Parish, all throughout North Louisiana. They're going to threaten maternity care and kids' coverage. Here in Louisiana, 60% of births are covered by Medicaid, 60%. And you slash Medicaid, you're going to eliminate prenatal care and NICU units for thousands of babies. That's not a pro-life administration. That's reckless and deadly. Trump is also imposing Medicaid work requirements all across the country. And it's a policy that right up the road in Arkansas, they tested a few years ago, that didn't increase employment, but did push thousands of people off the Medicaid rolls because they're not concerned about Medicaid patients working because the vast majority of Medicaid patients are working. They want red tape that will force thousands of people off Medicaid. And they want to be able to label them as lazy as they throw them off. And now the Affordable Care Act's enhanced premium subsidies, the reason that this year's enrollment in the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, was almost 24 million, are going to expire in just a couple of months. And this is one of the reasons we've got this government shutdown, because the Democrats are demanding that Trump and the Republicans restore that funding. And the cost of restoring those subsidies, well, it's roughly the same amount that Trump just this week sent to Argentina in a bailout. Yeah, that's right. Trump took money from hardworking Americans who just want basic health care, and he sent that money, $20 billion, to Argentina. When your premiums and your neighbor's premiums and your family members' premiums skyrocket, that's a pay cut taken right out of your salary, right out of your household budget, and it's going to Argentina. Yes, and he wants to give another, and they're proposing to give another $20 billion to Argentina. Who gets hurt when healthcare becomes unaffordable? It's self-employed people, it's small-town business owners, it's musicians and fishermen, it's substitute teachers, it's farmers. And yes, a lot of them are Trump supporters. They're hurting their own people. Millions are going to lose their coverage when those cuts take effect in just a few months. And then there's the damage that we've seen on the press earlier this year and in recent days from all their other cuts to health research. Musk and Trump, they canceled grants. We saw the grants that they canceled early in the administration. They capped indirect costs. They've cut research staff. They proposed NIH cuts, National Institute of Health cuts, approaching 40% in the new budget that they proposed. You don't have to be a scientist to understand that. That means fewer medical trials. That means fewer medical breakthroughs and lost lives. Just this year, Trump has proposed cutting $18 billion from the CDC. By the way, that's about the amount of money he's sending to Argentina. 18 billion, 20 billion. And that's not all. He's cutting $93 billion from nursing research, $93 million from nursing research, $1.5 billion from HIV prevention, $230 million to support global immunizations, $180 million for global polio prevention. So you can put it in his pocket. Well, you can put it in his rich friends' pockets. He's cutting almost $500 million from anti-tuberculosis programs, $400 million from cancer prevention programs, $100 million from diabetes research and prevention, and he's cutting $98 million from heart disease and stroke research. But, all those are just numbers. And they're without a name or a face. So let me give you a name to make these cuts as real and as devastating as they are. You may have seen that just last week, National Public Radio did a profile of 4-year-old Caleb Strickland. Caleb has a fragile heart with a big external pump that's attached to it while he waits maybe as long as a year for a heart transplant. He's just 4 years old. And there's this exciting new implantable device. It's called PediaFlow. It's about the size of two AA batteries that could make a big difference by allowing kids like Caleb to leave the hospital and enjoy playing and live comfortably at home while they wait for their heart transplants. And the project to create this device was led by a Cornell University biomedical engineer and was supported by a $6 million grant from the Department of Defense. And it was nearing the final stages of its preclinical work. It was just about to be able to help kids like Caleb. And in April, Trump issued a stop work order as part of this broader effort that they have to impose restrictions on elite colleges and universities because they don't like their diversity policies. And he canceled about $10 million in grants at these universities, including roughly $250 million at Cornell, where this research into this device that could make Caleb's life and maybe save Caleb's life possible. So this means that the lab developing this PediaFlow device has been shut down. The graduate students who were working in the lab have left. One of the key technicians that was working in the lab has been laid off, and it's put on ice a device that the FDA lists as a critical pediatric need. And the doctors at Pennsylvania's Children's Hospital say that today's standard device, the device that Caleb has to use, and other toddlers in that situation have to use, is a 100-pound power unit that's connected to the hospital wall. They can't leave the hospital. They can't go home. And PediaFlow is designed to free those kids and let them go home. So families like Caleb's are now collateral damage in this war of political score settling that Trump is engaged in. This is what cuts look like on the ground. Canceled science, shuttered labs, and innocent little kids paying the price. And that's what we're here today for. We're fighting for our democracy, that's for sure, but we're also here to stand up for kids like Caleb. We're here to stand up for kids like Caleb who didn't care or even know if Cornell has too much diversity. Caleb's parents just know that a promising new treatment that could save his life is now on hold because Trump and his pals want to see fewer minorities admitted to universities like Cornell. So we're here today to say no to policies that hurt kids like Caleb. And we're here to say yes to a constitutional republic, the messy, glorious system in which no one is king and everyone gets a voice. We're here to say yes to checks and balances, courts that referee, agencies that enforce the law, and a president who answers to the people. That means resisting any doctrine that tries to crown a president with unchecked power, as the Supreme Court has done. We're here to say yes to public media that serves rural parishes like this with weather alerts, classrooms with science shows, and we're here to support voters with facts, not a president's curated reality show. We're here to say yes to health care that families can afford. We're here to say yes to extending the Affordable Care Act subsidies. We're here to say no to the Medicaid cuts. And we're here to say yes to voters with facts. We're here to say yes to science that saves lives. So, what do we do next? That's the question I get asked wherever I go and talk to groups like this. What can we do? What do we do next? The rally's great, the energy's amazing, but what do we do next? Where do we go from here when we leave this place today? Between now and the midterms, here's what I think our job is. And this is very simple stuff, and we can all do it. It doesn't cost us any money. First, we just must tell the truth relentlessly. We have to find ways to tell our friends and neighbors that the threat to us isn't abstract. It's our premiums, it's our local hospitals, it's our kids' pediatric cardiologists and the research they lie on. That's why I shared the story about Caleb. We have to share stories like Caleb's and the Cornell baby heart pump everywhere we go. And you've got maybe your own story that you can tell that makes those cuts and those policies real and not abstract. We have to make Trump and the Republicans explain why their war on diversity outranks a toddler's heartbeat. We have to not be afraid to use our social media and our email lists to spread the news that we think our friends and our family members need to see. You know, I think that a lot of us would be surprised to know just how little some of our friends and family know about what's going on. I mean, we think that everybody's as informed as we are, and they're just not. They're busy, they've disconnected because they're just fatigued by all of this. So let's use the respect that we've earned and the reputation that you and I have for telling the truth and providing reliable information to tell the people that we know in our lives what's going on and where we stand on it. Your courage, our courage, can be contagious. You want other people to join you in your activism, then they need to see what you're doing. So if you're not taking photos of this crowd today, you ought to be doing it. And when you get home, you need to post them on your Facebook page or whatever social media you have. You need to send emails of this, of the pictures of this email. I mean, the emails attached to pictures attached to your emails of this rally to your friends, and let them know that in Ruston, Louisiana, this many people showed up today. And we have to keep writing letters and making the phone calls. I promise you they make a difference. And I talk to people all the time who say they don't think they make a difference because they don't get responded to, they don't get answered. But I'm telling you, believe me, as someone who worked in congressional offices for 20 years, they do make a difference. Just consider what it means to Mike Johnson, Bill Cassidy, John Kennedy, if you never call their office. When we don't force them to hear us, we risk giving them our tacit approval. So we have to call them. We have to keep writing. And we have to vote. And we have to get others to vote with us. Authoritarians count on our fatigue. They want you and me to be exhausted. We can't give them that satisfaction. Because here's the heart of it. None of what's happening in the country today makes any sense unless you accept the fact that Trump and his crowd believe that the government exists only to benefit the wealthiest among us. It only makes sense if you accept the fact that Trump believes we serve him, not the other way around. None of this makes sense until we recognize that Trump and the Republicans are no longer willing to participate in free and fair elections, but instead are going to cling to power or try to cling to power by perverting the Supreme Court and the Constitution and by subverting our elections and our democracy. But we're here today. And people like us are gathered all across this country today because we don't believe in kings. We believe in a government that serves us, not the other way around. We believe in we the people. Trump, he believes in only himself. So let's go from here with a renewed sense of purpose and a revitalized sense of our power as we the people. We the people will not bow to a tyrant. We, the people, will not accept a government that raids our health care to bankroll tax breaks for billionaires. We, the people, will not accept military policing our streets and masked ICE agents terrorizing our cities. We, the people, don't have a king, and we're not about to crown one. This is our country. It doesn't belong to Donald Trump or any one person. And starting today, from Ruston to Lake Charles, from the Piney Woods to Plaquemines Parish, we're taking it back. No kings. Not now, not ever. God bless America.